Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I want to put the people up on a nice book. I know the lighting ain't too good in here, at least the light I'm using. But anyway, this book right here is called The Prophet's Method of Correcting People's Mistakes. The Prophet's Method of Correcting People's Mistakes. I'm going to touch a few points in this book because it's extremely important. This book is it's extremely important because sometimes the mistakes that we make is fueled by some form of trickery from Shaytan. And then seeing people make mistakes, and they using the word mistake, but even doing something wrong intentionally, right? This the Prophet method of correcting people when they doing something wrong, doing things that they not supposed to be doing, or thinking that they doing something right, but they're not doing it correct, which is a mistake, right? So usually, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes Shaytan steps in and put people up on mistakes and different things that's going to affect their deen. So I'm going to touch on that, but I'm going to also touch on a few things from the ways and the actions of Shaytan and the way he tried to get us off our deen. I'm going to pull up this Ayat. I'm going to use my phone, man. It's better light in here. One second, man. So I'm going to start off with this Quran Ayat, and then I'm going to give a hadith that goes along with it, inshallah ta'ala. So, Surah 7, starting with Ayat number 16. This is what Shaytan says, right? Shaytan, Iblis, said, because you sent me away, because you caused me to go astray. This is what he's saying to Allah. Because you caused me to go astray. Just look at the arrogance in that statement. Me not obeying you when you told me to prostrate to Adam because of what was in my heart. Well, because what's in Shaytan's heart. The first thing he did was blamed Allah. You made me do it. And then comes the threat. Because you made me do it, this is what I'm going to do. Instead of taking accountability and say, you know what, I disobeyed you, Allah, and try to do tawbah and try to rectify the affair. Instead, he became arrogant upon his actions because he was furious. He was extremely jealous. And I'm not going to go into too much details about the jinn wars and what Shaytan, his plan was and what he wanted and why he got so upset with Allah Azza wa Jal for the sake of time. Now I'm breaking that little part down because Allah warns us to not follow the footsteps of Shaytan. When you do something that goes against the obedience of Allah, when you be disobedient to Allah, but it may be in the midst of other people, pause for a minute. Take accountability. Don't be like Shaytan and get so arrogant that you blame other people for the choices that you've made. Especially when you start to do a whole lot more wrong so that it feel right in your head. See, one thing individuals should learn about the ego, right? And the way Shaytan can arouse a person's ego. See, in the ego, once a person get a blow to their ego, they need to get their ego back up, right? A blow to the ego for some people is almost like getting hit in the face. I need to get you back. So when you give them a blow to their ego, but it's really a dose of reality, they have to do something worse to feel good about themselves, to bring their ego back up. And 9 times out of 10, what they're going to do is something that's harmful, something that's destructive, something that's un-Islamic, but in their head, it brings their ego back up because they feel like they've done something. So a lot of this is a blow to Shaitan's ego. And now, instead of taking accountability for what he done and his disobedience to Allah, instead of saying, you know what, I disobeyed you, Allah, let me make it right. And this is showing you one of the differences between Shaitan and Adam, because they both caught up in the situation together. Shaitan got arrogant and blamed Allah, because you led me astray, because you did this to me, right? When Adam realized he was wrong, he made dua for Allah to forgive him. Shaitan made dua for Allah to allow him to be a wretched, dirty, filthy, stinky, no good, rat fink piece of garbage until the day of resurrection. Let me keep up my evil and wickedness until it's all over. Feeling like he's going to prove something to Allah. So let's continue with the ayat, right? So Shaitan says, because you sent me astray, because you did this to me, surely I will sit and wait against them, the human beings, the children of Adam. I will surely wait for them on your straight path, right? I will surely wait for them on your straight path, the path that leads to Allah Azza wa Jal, the path that leads to Jannah. So Shaitan said, I'm going to sit and wait for them on that path because of what you did to me, right? Then what Shaitan says is, I will approach them. I'm going to wait for them on your straight path. I'm going to approach them. I'm going to come to them from the front of them, from behind them, from the right of them, and from their left. And you will find most of them ungrateful. They not even going to be thankful, right? That's coming into ayat number 17. So when you look at where some of the Quran ayats where Allah says how when that day comes and we in that next life and we say, people going to say, oh Allah, if you could just send me back, I'll change, I'll do better, right? But Allah say, even if he had sent them back, they would have went right back to doing what they did that got them in the place where they are right now, because they are ungrateful. So there's numerous ayats stating that. Where it's even saying not even for the ones who passed away, but the people that's in this life. Like you take an example, you could look at it, some example. Somebody may be in trouble. Oh Allah, may get real sick. Oh Allah, I ain't gonna never smoke again. I ain't gonna never drink again. If you get me out of this situation, I ain't ever gonna do that. I'm gonna pray on time. I'm gonna be on my deen. I'm gonna be in the masjid. And then Allah changes that situation to the good for them. And then slowly but surely, eventually, they come back to a lot of their old ways because they are ungrateful. And this is something that Shaytan is trying to prove to Allah, that most of us is going to be that way. So by him knowing that, what's one of the tricks that Shaytan is going to try to get us to do? He's going to try to get us to be ungrateful. You understand? We even supposed to be grateful for small things like being able to just go in your restroom and take a shower or a bath. You should step in that water and Allah, thank you for allowing me to just have a home where I could take a shower, where I could clean my body. Things that we take for granted, even just being able to go in your bathroom and make wudu to make salat. We should be saying thank you Allah for allowing me to be able to stand, and I'm not in a position where I can't even make wudu. Because like Allah tell us in the Quran, man, he could take away our sight, he could take away our hearing. We could be somewhere in a hospital bed, hooked up to tubes, sick, facing surgeries and diseases and ailments. We could be in a grave. But alhamdulillah, we're able to get up and go in our bathroom or in our kitchen, wherever, or a wudu room in the masjid and make wudu. How often do you thank Allah just for that? Having somewhere to make wudu. You can run some water, put it in a cup, and make wudu. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. How often do you thank Allah for that? Where you can make wudu and you purify yourself so that you can stand before Allah. It's a lot of things that we not grateful for. And Allah tell us that we ungrateful. So this is one of the things that Shaytan is going to play on. He's going to try to make us be ungrateful to Allah. Shaytan knows what angers Allah. You see what I'm saying? But what we should take from this, don't follow the footsteps of the Shaytan. Don't become arrogant when you do something wrong. Especially if it falls in line with some disobedience to Allah, or you wrong some other Muslims, or you get out of hand, you let your anger get the best of you. Don't blame the other people. Blame yourself. Rectify the situation. Start taking the steps to get right with Allah Azza wa Jal. So with Shaytan saying, he's going to sit and wait for us, right? And how he gonna find most of us, he was trying to prove to Allah that most of us is not going to be grateful. But Allah already know that, because Allah tell us that in numerous ayats. So let me show you the hadith that goes with this. This isn't the one they use in the tafsirs. This is just one that I'm familiar with, because I deal with a lot of hadiths. Beautiful hadith, right? They could use this in tafsirs, but so this one is in Nasai, right? Sunan Nasai. It's narrated that this lighting kind of bad, man. I don't want to be reading bad. Let me shine this little flashlight on here. So it says, it was narrated that Sabra bin Abi Faqih said, I heard the messenger of Allah say, So some of these hadiths, when you get to this point where you hearing the person who's narrated, interchaining narration saying, I heard the Rasul say, then you know this is somebody who was around the Rasul. Not like my grandfather told me, my father told me that the Rasul said, or Umar said he heard the Rasul say. This individual is saying, I heard the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, the Shaytan sits in the path of the son of Adam. Human beings. That don't, just because it says son of Adam, it really should be a translation of children of Adam, because male and female also apply. So when Shaytan sits in the path of the children of Adam, he sits waiting for him in their path to Islam. So some of us, somebody may have came along or something happened in our life where we wanted to be Muslim. We wanted to accept Islam, right? So Shaytan waits in that path, right? And Shaytan says, will you accept Islam? Will you leave your religion and leave the religion of your forefathers, your parents, your friends? Now, it may not be like that, but this is to let you know, Shaytan steps in to cause some type of doubt. It might come from your parent. It might come from your best friends. It might come from some other Muslims. You come, it's something in me that I want to accept Islam. And then somebody say, like what used to be a big saying, man, you're going to become Muslim, man, and give up pork and all this stuff. Somehow Shaytan is coming in trying to cause some doubt to trick you into leaving Islam. Man, you're going to leave Christianity, you know, they don't believe in Jesus. Some type of doubt comes when people try to accept Islam. And they might end up accepting it at a later date. Or they might be born Muslim into a Muslim family, and then they had to deal with this on the outside, and then they fall off of their deen. And then some of the mistakes or the ways that they worshiping is not accurate, and that's why Shaytan is able to get through to them. You see what I'm saying? So that's what's leading to the part where the prophetic method, the prophet's way, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, of correcting people's mistakes. Right? Very important. Because sometimes you fall into things that's going to make it extremely easy for Shaytan to get a hold of you. So look what it says. But then eventually that person disobeys Shaytan. See, that's letting you know right there, when you make that decision, no, I ain't going to become Muslim right now. These reasons, that reason, or you already Muslim and you have issues with other Muslims, not Islam. I don't like how the Muslims act. I don't like this and that. I'm going to leave Islam. This is letting you know through this hadith, you really obeying Shaytan. So what it says is you disobey Shaytan and then you accept Islam anyway. But so anybody just look back on their journey to Islam, even if you was born into the deen, and there was times that you fell off because you wanted to be with your friends, you felt like you was missing out on something. All of this comes from the Shaytan. Quran Ayat, Shaytan said he was going to sit in Allah's path and attack us from the front, the back, the left, and the right. This is a hadith explaining some of the ways Shaytan going to try to get to us. And Shaytan sat there and waited before some of us became Muslim, and put some doubts in us, you know, try to turn us away. You know, like me, I accepted real Islam. Then Shaytan came in through the way of my parents. I leave Islam. And then next thing you know, join a gang. And the gang bring the Islam back. But it's a dirty version. Because it's a gang Islam. I'm a gang Muslim. Except the real Islam, Shaytan take me off of that. And now I'm a gangbanging Muslim for years. Okay? Shaytan. So look, so then it says, So then the person disobeys Shaytan and accepts Islam. Then after that person accepts Islam, then Shaytan sits waiting on him on the path to migration, to immigrate. And he says, will you immigrate and leave behind your land and your sky? This doesn't necessarily mean just moving overseas. There might be a city in the United States that's better for your Islam. You might be in an environment where, like I say, an environment where everybody around you, they selling drugs, they gang banging, they're shooting, butt naked women, a lot of bid'ah. But then you might have the opportunity to move California to a nice Muslim community, a smaller city with a nice Muslim community, the Philly, the Jersey, even with all the fitna. But then Shaytan comes in and trick you. You might have the opportunity to go overseas and study. You're going to go over there, you're going to leave your land, you're going to leave your family. It's beautiful here, you can have your way, everybody. Shaytan steps in and try to stop you from making those moves. Sometimes you might have to, when you start to look at it, sometimes you might have to immigrate or make hijrah. We just gonna say make hijrah because hijrah is different level. You might have to make hijrah from your friends. You might have to make hijrah from the Muslims you're around. You might have to make hijrah from the masjid that you attend. You might have to make hijrah from your job. But Shaytan and all we know, these is taking steps towards Allah, to where Allah is going to take the steps towards you, right? And things are going to get better for you. But Shaytan is trying to stop that because he knows things can get better for you, right? So listen what it say. Shaytan says the one who migrate is like a horse tethered to a peg. And tether is like, anybody who know about tether ball, it's just like a string attached to the pole to keep the ball from going anywhere. You can just hit it around. So it's like a pole. It's like a horse tied to a pole. Their movement is limited. Yeah, you move overseas, there might be some Muslims there, but you don't know nobody. You can't leave. You can't go hang out with your homies. For the sisters, you can't go hang out with your best friends. You ain't gonna see these people. You're not gonna know nobody. You can't speak the language. You're gonna be like a tethered horse. You can run wild in your city. You know where to go. You know where not to go. You move over there, you're gonna be tethered. You're just gonna be stuck in your house. This is Shaytan, right? So then it says again, and I love the way, even when you look at the Arabic, it says, but then you disobey Shaytan. Because we don't realize these things is obedience to Shaytan, to let the Shaytan pull you like that. He's sitting in the path to trick you. And Shaytan, sometimes he whispers straight to your head, and then sometimes it's the people around you. You understand? Pulling you back to their way, just like how the Quran say. The people not going to be pleased with you. This ain't only just kafirs though. They not going to be pleased with you until you come back to the way of life that they're on, that you was on before you left it alone. You see what I'm saying? Just like a lot of us who was in a gang. When you want to leave the gang alone, your homies, oh man, you like you going to straighten up your life. I'm gonna go chill out with a little female, man, and start me a family. Or the female, I'm finna get with this dude, man, and I'm finna be a housewife. What? You gonna leave these streets alone? See, this stuff is the Shaytan. Your friends actually have a problem with you bettering your life. I mean, you finna quit selling dope, man, and go work? Man, you a sucker, man. But then when you end up in the penitentiary, these same people who called you a sucker ain't putting no money on your books. You see what I'm saying? They have a problem with you bettering your life. You could be a Muslim and you could be around other Muslims and you really want to go study. You want to take classes. Oh man, you don't need all that to be a better Muslim. This stuff is the Shaytan. And when you fall into that, guess who you obeying? Shaytan. Why is it obedience to Shaytan? Because to be the opposite of that is to be in obedience of Allah Azza wa Jal. So you refusing to do what Allah tell you to do, but you willingly doing what Shaytan tell you to do. Oh man, don't leave that job, man. You don't leave them friends alone, man. You might not have no more friends. You know, if I could count on my hand, man, how many people I know that's around people that's no good for them and they know it, but they just want to be around some people anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like a small example. This is some Muslims. I know a Muslim sister, man, and she would not leave these sisters alone for nothing. Her husband warned her, her husband told her, but he didn't stop leaving them alone. Stop hanging with them. I'm just finna put you on. So then he said, look, you notice, anytime they think you not married, you the best thing smoking. But then if you tell them you married, watch all the communication stop. Watch them be mad at you again. Watch them don't like you again. These your Muslim sisters. Situation come around recently. Know what I'm saying? One brother went and tell another brother, you know that sister's still married. This brother go hissing and slithering to the other women. Now they hear from this person that this sister is married. They just had it eating stuff, man. None of them sisters invited, didn't tell her or nothing. Because you know what I'm saying, this is at a different masjid. They all finna go over there. They don't give her no invite, they don't tell her nothing. Done switch back up on her because she married. Why do you have a problem with other Muslims bettering their life? You know what I'm saying? People who used to drink alcohol or smoke weed, even if you still do. People you hang around, man, I'm finna quit drinking, man, I'm finna quit smoking. They're gonna be like, what? You a lame, you a goofy. They're gonna down you for trying to better your life. You know why, man? Because misery love company. They know they ain't going nowhere fast, and they want you to stay right there with them and keep them company. You know what I'm saying? But I'm saying, all you gotta do is listen to the Quran al-Kareem and dig into these hadiths, and you will know this stuff is obeying Shaytan. He's fulfilling his promise to Allah. And then just for the simple fact that we continue to fall in it, how we gonna say we grateful to Allah? You see what I'm saying? This is part of Shaytan's plan, right? So it says we disobey Shaytan and we migrate anyway to what's better. A new city, overseas. We migrate to Allah and His Messenger. We get in these classes, we get in the tafsir. You know what, man, I ain't finna come over there and watch the game with y'all, man. I'm finna go home and read tafsirs. You know what I'm saying? I'll figure, I'll find out who won that. You know, yeah, the boxing match, oh, that's cool, man, but I'm finna go home, man, and read hadiths. Sometimes you gotta migrate, man, to the Quran and the Sunnah. Because if you don't, and you let Shaytan trick you out of it, you obeying Shaytan. So look what it says. So then if you get past that and you migrate, you know what I'm saying, to that which is better, now Shaytan is going to sit in the path to jihad. Now, even with the path to jihad, there's more than one. That don't mean just the fighting war jihad, right? Jihad, whatever, however you pronounce it, right? I say that because I know people who pronounce it different. I don't want nobody getting in the comments talking about you don't even know how to pronounce jihad, right? Jihad. But anyway, there's different ways There's where you have to fight against your nafs, fight against who you once was. While you doing that fight and you trying to improve, Shaytan is sitting right there trying to stop you from it. And look what it says. Will you fight? Will you change? You gonna stop being how you are? When you already cool, you ain't nothing wrong with your ways. They benefiting you. Look at your material stuff. Look what you got going on. Why give all that up? You know what I'm saying? On the fighting part, and he says, what if you gonna go fight and it's gonna cost you your life and your wealth? You will fight and be killed, and your wife will remarry, and your wealth will be divided by other people. Shaytan trying to stop you from doing what Allah called you to. So again, it says, but this is one thing that you got to understand with these steps also. The path to Islam, where Shaytan is waiting, some people never made it past that first step. Shaytan stepped them right there, and they didn't take their shahada, or they took their shahada and left. The next step after that, right? You understand? So after the shahada and leaving the religion that they was on, some of them didn't make it past that. Shaytan got them, and they never accepted Islam. Then when they accepted Islam, Shaytan stopped them from migrating to what was better, whether it was overseas, whether it was to the Quran and Sunnah, whether it was, migrating away from a masjid of bid'ah, migrating to a better city, leaving your friends and going and getting married to somebody that was righteous, that was better for you. Shaytan, they didn't make it. Some of them didn't make it. But then if they did make it, now what they tested with? Jihad of nafs, real jihad, with a fighting, whatever, for people who in those type of countries where it's there. Shaytan stopped some of them in their tracks. And what is it? When you look at the hadith, what are they doing? They are obeying Shaytan and disobeying Allah Azza wa Jal, but they might not be privy to that because they don't dig into these hadiths, right? So then it says, but they disobey them and they fight their nafs, they fight the war, whatever needs to be done, they get through it, right? They fight their own self and get better in the deen. So they disobey him and do it anyway. Then the messenger of Allah said, whoever does this, whoever gets past all of these things, then he has a right, then they have a right with Allah, the mighty and sublime, and Allah will admit them to paradise. And whoever is killed, he has the right from Allah, the mighty and sublime, that he will be admitted to paradise, that they will be admitted to paradise. If they are drowned, they have the right to go into paradise. And if they are thrown by something or get in some type of crash or something bad, it say thrown from a mountain like they're on a camel or a horse, but this can apply to a car crash or anything. But anyway, if they thrown from something in a bad accident and they break their neck and die from it, then they also have a right with Allah that they will be admitted into paradise. And some of the top reads where it say a tethered horse, this is the utterance of the Shaytan. It means one being away from one's homeland is like being fettered. It's like being fettered and in prison, as a tethered horse cannot walk around freely in the same way as a migrant. Also, a migrant also becomes a captive in their own home and or a homebound captive. So it's just showing some of the tricks of Shaytan to stop you from moving forward towards what Allah is calling you to. Whatever that migration looked like, overseas, a better group of friends, whatever that looks like for you, right? It all applies. So you got the Quran ayat where Shaytan promised to sit coming from the front, the back, the right and the left. He's going to sit in Allah's path to distract us, right? Pull us off our deen. So now there's a hadith that shows that Shaytan was waiting for us before we even accepted Islam. And Shaytan got a lot of us. A lot of people who wanted to accept Islam. Some people wanted to accept Islam, but they became a Moorish American instead. They became a 5%er instead. They joined the Nation of Islam instead. This is something black. You know what I'm saying? I done walked through every last one of those paths. 5%er, full 360. But I became Muslim first. And I can be honest and say, I went to that stuff, man, because it was forms of Islam. You got to keep in mind, I was a gang Muslim. So I wanted that same thing with Islam. So I'm going to leave the gang and join the 5%ers, the Moors, because it was a way for me to be Muslim and still keep doing everything that I was doing, minus the gang banging. I could drink, I could smoke weed, I don't have to be married. I didn't want to get married. Know what I'm saying? I can hustle. I can get out there and shoot dice. You know what I'm saying? I could treat people like ops and still call myself Muslim. And it's a part of something black. Islam was in my way. What? I gotta quit drinking. I gotta get married to one woman. You know what I'm saying? As a 5%er, and I can sit down and talk cool. What's today's mathematic and all that old weird stuff? Which I ain't gonna lie, I learned a lot of good stuff from being a 5%er, as far as researching and studying and staying away from trick knowledge. But some of us take that path. Some of us stay on the gang banging Muslim side. I'm gonna be a Black Stone Muslim. I'm gonna be a Vice Lord Muslim, Four Corner Hustler Muslim, Nation of Islam Moorish American Muslim, and I can still go to the clubs, and it's fine in that. But in Islam, I had to stop all that, or I'm gonna do it anyway, and it's haram. So some of us didn't make it, man. So like when you see where Shaytan says he's going to attack us from the front, when you go to different hadiths and you go to the tafsirs, when Shaytan attack you from the front, his method is raising doubts concerning the hereafter. Not the type of doubts that I don't believe. I have doubts that Jannah exists. I have doubts about the hellfire. You know, I have doubts about the questions in the grave. The type of things that'll make you straighten up. Because, like, there's certain things, I won't name them because I don't want to offend nobody if they do these things. But there's a list of things when you go to the hadiths that says, if you do this and you do that, Allah isn't even going to talk to you on the day of judgment. But some people fall into them anyway. Oh no, they doubt it. You know, how you wear your pants. Or a certain scholar said, did you not see what the Prophet Muhammad said? Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if you do this, if you do that, regardless of how you try to twist it and this and that, and not getting into the hadiths and nothing, when y'all twisting things up, Allah not going to look at you, Allah not going to speak to you on the day of judgment. You already know where you're going. That's a major punishment. But they still continue to do it because they doubt it. They doubt it. These is the shaitans. Well, everybody else around me do this and everybody else around me do that. Allah say, when you come to the masjid, when you time for salat, you pray this way, you do this, you do that, or this is the outcome. Oh, well, I'm going to keep doing this and that because everybody else do it. That's because you doubt it. And And that's one of the ways of Shaytan attacking you from the front. And he got you. And eventually, you're going to fall into so much that you're going to forget about yourself. But you're going to forget about Allah first. Because pay attention to the hadiths. Once you don't overcome Shaytan, you obeying him. So now you're falling into the obedience of Shaytan and telling yourself that you worshiping Allah. Now that leads to you forgetting about Allah, which leads to what? You're going to forget about yourself. And I'm going to give you a Quran ayat that proves what I'm telling you. Now I only just use that one hadith, but for the rest, I'm just going to use Quran ayats to prove these things from the Shaytan, right? So then when Shaytan attacks you from the back, that Shaytan making them more eager for this life, for this dunya. Where instead of chasing deen, you're going to chase wealth. Not saying you have to be broke, not saying you can't get money, but because there's hadiths that say there's a time for this and there's time for that. Yeah, you're supposed to get out there and get you some money to take care of your family, have nice things. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem comes in when you put your deen on the back burner. When you corrupt your Islam a little bit, and the way that the hadith say it, like sometimes we sell parts of our akhirah for parts of this dunya. And I won't get into too much details for the sake of time. But this is one of the ways that, one of the things that Shaytan, when he attack you from the back, he makes us more eager for this dunya and all the stuff that's in it. I don't even want to look Muslim. I can look like the kuffar. Then you get to change in the religion, twisting up hadiths you never heard or read. You know what I'm saying? Just twisting up sayings and making up stuff because you're so eager for this life. Allah Azza wa Jal tell you in the Quran flat out. Allah, prepare for war. The people who indulge in riba, prepare for war. Allah goes to war against those people. But here it is, 1 million credit cards, all type of interest on cars and all this other type of stuff. You know why? Because they doubt that war. This is our Shaytan attacking them from the front and the back. They doubting what's gonna go on. So that's from the front and the back. When Shaytan attack you from the right, is by causing confusion in your religion. By causing confusion in your deen. Now, a lot of people don't know. You could be up on something that's not from Islam, but you think it is, and you don't go check. You don't know that's confusion. You don't know that's confusion. Now, if a person tell you to close your eyes and tell you to walk right, but your eyes closed and you can't even really feel it, but you really walking left, that's confusion. You're confused, right? So he calls you. There's different ways of confusion in the deen. You see what I'm saying? So now when he attacks you from the left, it's by luring us to commit sins. Especially the type of sins that's so major, the type of sins that Allah really hates. You see what I'm saying? So those are some more the four major components. Shaytan gonna attack from the front, the back, the right, and the left. 1, raising doubts concerning the next life. 2, making us more eager for this dunya. 3, causing us to be confused about our religion. And then 4, luring us to commit sins. Now let me give y'all this Quran ayat, the kind to show where This is a beautiful matter of fact. Let me pull up in my phone, man. I know which one it is, man. Let's see, 42. This one of my favorite. Yes, and then I'm gonna close on it. I'm gonna do a part 2 because I want to get in the prophetic way of correcting people's mistakes, and because we need to be open to being corrected, and we need to know how to correct in accordance to Islam, right? So you go to Ayat, we're gonna start at 42. Wait. Now we're going to start surah number 6, ayat 40, so we can get a little more context. So, say, ask them, O Prophet, imagine if you were overwhelmed by Allah's torment. If Allah's torment comes up on you, or the hour comes up on you, would you then call upon anyone other than Allah? If you are truthful, if Allah overwhelms you, now imagine you in life and life just overwhelming you, and you just can't get it together. Who can change that? Allah. You need to get yourself together with Allah so that you can so that Allah will take this away. You see what I'm saying? Because Allah can always make it worse, right? So then it says, nay, to Allah alone you would call. And if Allah's will, He will remove that distress or whatever is overwhelming you for which you call upon Him, and you will forget at the time whatever partners you joined with Him. Even if you weren't on no bid'ah, like some people be in situations and they expect their spouse to fix everything. They expect this. Although that help might come through them people, but you got to go to Allah first. And you got to get yourself right with Allah first. Let's say you're not a rich person, but you got a few bucks. And you know you have a close friend or a family member, and you loan them $1,000, and they've been owing you $1,000 for 2 years, and then they end up in another situation, and they come ask you for another $1,000. You're gonna be you're not gonna give it to them. Why? Because they're not right with you. Now you need to get back right. We need to get back right with Allah first. You see what I'm saying? You want to stay right with Allah. You want to, you know what I'm saying? And this like the hadith say about the individuals, they clothes haram, they money haram, they food haram, they life haram, but then they can't understand why Allah ain't answering their du'as. You need to get right back with Allah first. But let's continue, right? So, verily, we sent messengers to many nations before you, right? And we seized them with extreme poverty and loss in wealth. So, like, the ones who was wealthy, we made them lose it all. Right? And a loss in their health. Different ailments. You know, eyes getting weak. You know, knees hurting, back hurting, chest pains, bad stomach, bad heart, brain ain't good, Alzheimer's, you know, all these different disorders. Right? And then it says, Allah says, and they did this so that they might humble themselves. A loss in wealth and a whole bunch of loss in health and a bunch of different calamities, getting hurt in war, stab wounds, arm, hand cut off, big hole in their head, just a lot of things affecting their health due to calamities. So that they might humble themselves. This is why Allah putting it on them. Allah telling us right here in the Quran. But listen what it says. When our torment reached them, why did they not humble themselves? When life start catching up to you, and you starting to experience a whole bunch of different stuff, and you, man, why am I going through this, man? Why is life doing me this way? What's Allah sitting up saying right here in the Quran? Allah Azza wa Jal. Humble yourself. Humble yourself. But look at the Shaytan, right? So why did they not humble themselves? So it said, instead of the humbling themselves, their hearts became hardened. They became arrogant like Shaytan. And just started doing whatever they could that they, turn to crime, mistreat people, take advantage of the Muslims. You know what I'm saying? Be conniving, a raggedy individual in Muslim clothing. Their heart became hard. And once that happened, this is what it said though. Shaytan made it fair seeming to them. Shaytan made what they was doing seem fair. Oh, this ain't too bad. This okay. You know what I'm saying? This little bit of fornicating, it's cool. It ain't too bad. This whatever I'm doing, this robberies, whatever I'm doing. Mistreating their spouses, women trying to take advantage of their husbands, husbands trying to take advantage of their wives. And they didn't see nothing wrong with it. Nothing is wrong with this. That's Shaytan. That's Shaytan. This can lead to a lot of those four ways. Shaytan making it fair seeming to you can cause confusion in your religion. I don't need to read the Quran to be a good Muslim. That's confusion, man. You need to at least start reading your Quran to know how to be Muslim. Not just be whatever you want to be and call yourself Muslim. Right? I could call myself a mechanic. If I don't know how to fix cars, I'm just calling myself something. Right? It can also, fair seeming, you might not realize, man, when you falling into sins, is you being lured into committing sins, but you're going to tell yourself it's okay. But look what happened. They was going through a very difficult time in life. Losing money, poverty, and their health is bad. Because Allah wanted them to humble themselves. But instead of humbling themselves, they got arrogant. And their hearts got hard. And what they did once they became corrupt people, Shaytan made it seem fair. Like how they used to say in the streets, the game is cold, but it's fair. What's fair about you hustling up to $100,000 and me come robbing you? What's fair about it? All these sayings, but anyway, so look, let me continue on, right? So what it says, another translation is, Shaytan made their misdeeds appealing. It was appealing to them. That's another form of luring them into committing sins. So keep in mind, look what happened. They didn't humble themselves. They became arrogant and hard-hearted. So Shaytan made their wrongdoing seem okay. and appealing, right? So when they forgot that which they had been reminded of, now you're forgetting about your deed. Now you're forgetting about what you're supposed to do. Now, and it says, when they became oblivious to the warnings, when they started to forget the warnings, just like the video that I talked about should warning still be a part of the da'wah? Because now they starting to teach you shouldn't talk about the stuff that the Rasul, and this is one of the first active instructions in the deen, is to get up, be upright, and go warn the people. You see what I'm saying? These are some of the first actions to be done in Islam. So now you seeing, now Allah is saying, now when the people forget about those warnings, come oblivious to those warnings, we showered them with everything that their hearts desired. Everything they wanted. Keep in mind, extreme poverty, lost all their wealth, and all different type of ailments, loss of health, right? They didn't humble themselves. They became arrogant and hard-hearted. Shaytan, to keep them on that path, they wrongdoing, they misdeeds was appealing and seemed fair to them. There's nothing wrong with what I'm doing. Once they got to that point, now they forgot about everything that Allah sent messengers to warn the people against. Once they got to that point, Allah says we opened up to them everything that they desired. We opened for them the gates of everything that they wanted, whatever that is. And it's definitely talking about haram. Money, alcohol, whatever. The opposite sex, clubs, butt nakedness, fighting, shooting, being infatuated with killing, life taking, drilling. Anything their heart desire, we opening up to it once they forgot the warnings. And that's like, even in that video I made, like I said, what's some of the things that the Rasul was told to go warn against? And I discussed this type of stuff with people. Some people can't even answer that. Let me know a lot of the Muslims is becoming what Shaytan said. We are oblivious to the warnings. We done forgot about the warnings, and now Shaytan opening everything up. Some of us had we can all look back in our lives, a lot of us can look back in our lives and say, I remember a time I was homeless. I remember a time, man, I had nothing in my house, just somewhere to lay down on. I remember a time, man, I was in prison, man. I remember a time, man, I was catching a bus, I was riding a bike, I was walking in snowstorms. I didn't have nothing. Now, we balling. We got cars, we got money to burn, we eating steaks and lobsters and hot wings, lemon pepper, honey wings, and all this other stuff, right? We living it up. We got it going on. Everything that my heart desires is at my footsteps. You should look at these Quran ayats and be careful. Not saying you shouldn't have those things, because there's a way for these things to be halal, but they can also be haram. So look what it says though, right? So in the midst of all of their enjoyment and indulging in everything that their hearts desires, fornications, whatever, right? All of a sudden, we took them in punishment. Once they became prideful and arrogant about all the stuff they felt like they have, And what they got access to, we all of a sudden just plunge them into punishment, man. Plunge them into destruction and deep regrets and sorrows. But nobody see how Shaytan is playing a role in all this. See, that key component was once Shaytan made them feel like their wrong ways was okay. They actually got a kick out of it, man. They enjoyed being wicked deviants. It did something for their ego. It did something for their ego. You see what I'm saying? So then look what it say, right? So now that they plunged into despair, destruction, deep regrets and sorrow, so now the wrongdoers were utterly uprooted. So the root of the people who did wrong was cut off. They cut off from Allah Azza wa Jal by the roots. Time for me to pray Tahajjud. So it says, and all praises and thanks are to Allah, the Lord of the Alameen. Right? Then it comes where, and Allah can make it worse. And it says, say, ask them, O Prophet, imagine if Allah were to take away your hearing and your seeing, or to seal your hearts, right? Who else other than Allah could restore it? Sealing your heart to the point where no Islam can get in it. Where you can't understand, no matter how much you call yourself Muslim, no matter how much you look like a Muslim, brother or sister, but no real deen is getting in your heart because it's sealed up. When you stuck with that hard heart to where Shaytan make all your misdeeds fair seeming. You see what I'm saying? So Allah's even letting you know it could get worse. And he said, who else other than Allah could restore it for you? If Allah take away your sight, Allah can give it back. So all these punishments, all this stuff you going through, everything you being overwhelmed with, Allah can remove it if he wants to. If Allah could take your sight away and give it back, if Allah could take your hearing away and give it back, you think Allah can't fix your marriage? You think Allah can't fix your friendships? You think Allah can't fix your financial situations? Allowing to take away a person's vision, then give it back, would definitely seem to be a whole lot more difficult. Of course, it's easy for Allah than fixing your marriage. But you got to take them steps. Once stuff start to hit the fan, humble yourself immediately. Humble yourself immediately. Take heed to what Allah is warning us about in the Quran and stay away from it. Before you become hard-hearted and then Shaytan steps in and make all the wrong that you're doing in disobedience to Allah and obedience to Shaytan fair seeming to you. Because keep in mind, when you pay attention to the hadith, when Shaytan come in with that attack and you fall for it, guess what you did? You obeyed Shaytan. And when you obey Shaytan, who you disobeying? Allah Azza wa Jal. But my alarm, man, just buzz, man. It's time for me to pray Tahajjud, man. Qiyam al-Layl. So, alhamdulillah, man. Let me finish this, man. I'll finish this, right? So, it says, so, who else could restore for you but Allah? O Prophet, how we vary the signs. See how variously we explain the ayats, yet they still turn away. Look how Allah is explaining this. But yet we still turn away. Meaning what? We being ungrateful. But you gotta keep in mind, this is from the attacks of Shaytan. Look what else it say, man. We started from Ayat 40. Right now we going into Ayat 47. So then ask them, he's saying to the Rasul, ask them, say to them, imagine if Allah's punishment was to overwhelm you. Allah's punishments were to overwhelm you with or without warning. Who would be destroyed other than the wrongdoers? You see what I'm saying? What if Allah comes to you suddenly during the night or openly during the day? Basically, what you gonna do if Allah sneak up on you? What you gonna do if Allah attacks you without warning? You can't do nothing if Allah warn you that He finna attack you. And all the warnings is in the Quran. If you do this, if you move like this, Allah gonna spank that booty. And can't nobody do nothing about it. But you can say yourself, be humble. Right? Be humble. Deal with a lot of heart softeners. There's hadiths, a whole book of hadiths about heart softeners. Right? Soften your heart, man. Different things to get your heart back soft to this deen. Because Allah don't play. But you gotta always be mindful of that enemy. That dirty, rotten, wicked, wretched, rejected, stinking, filthy Shaytan. Know what I'm saying? You if you guard your front, Shaytan coming from the right. You guard that right, Shaytan coming from the left. You guard that, Shaytan coming from the back. So it's enough for Shaytan to be coming at you, for you to put yourself in a position to, you putting yourself in a position to where Allah is allowing Shaytan to get you in his hellfire, to where you obeying Shaytan and disobeying Allah. That's crazy, man. But I gotta pray, man. I'm gonna do a part 2, and we're gonna get into this book. I even got some more examples, just a couple. I got like 4-5 pages of just all type of notes, man. Just to hold some of it up, man. Just a couple of pages, man. I got like, that's 2, 3, 4, 5. Anyway, I don't have to count it, man. But all these different notes, man, and the research that I went to go find that showed how Shaytan is attacking from the front back, an example of all of it, and all of them different Quran ayats. But anything I said that was a mistake came from myself and the Shaytan. Anything that I said that was correct came from Allah Azza wa Jalla al-Muqtadir wal-Alim wa-Basir. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.